Some people in the West call you the most dangerous philosopher in the world. Do you agree with this statement, and why do you think you've been called this?
Absolutely. I think that is the essence of the philosophy and the human thought is to be dangerous. So to be human is dangerous. It is unbalanced position in the world because human being is open questioning. Questioning that precedes the answer, and to think it is the same as to think dangerously. And to be is the same as to be dangerously. It is the human essence, and any thinker that is not considered to be dangerous is not thinker at all. He repeats just banal things. So what is comfortable cannot be called philosophical thought. If I'm considered to be most dangerous philosopher, so I'm considered to be most philosopher than the other philosophers. It is a kind of highest appraisal of my philosophical thought. I presume that is a kind of some underlying political agenda in this name. But philosophically speaking, it is the highest appreciation of the quality of my thought. If I am found to be dangerous, that is the same I'm recognized as philosopher.
The journey begins in fear. What to you is the ultimate purpose of life?
I think that the purpose of life is death. It is not the end of the life, of the border of life, it's the purpose. So we are living for the death. We are living in front of death. We are living in order to die. And that is a telos, that is a goal. Not a coincidence, not something casual, or some fatal breaching the border. No, it is ethical value, death. Death is the center of life. So the life is the circle around the death. And it is not only approaching death, that is, well, a kind of run from the death, run away from the death. So we are running from the death in order to fall into the death. But both aspects are completely wrong. We should live with the death, for the death, in front of the death, face to face to the death. And that is the life. That is the purpose of life. Not to die, to live to the death. It's not to die. And it's the only way to avoid death as something that is coming from outside. So the death is not from outside. The death is our innermost essence. So we are living death, and we are living death. And to recognize ourselves to be living deaths now, before death, it is the only way to gain the real essence of the spirit, of the soul and being. So the being is hidden inside of our inner death, not as the end of something exterior existence of some object, material, but we are a kind of that people pretending to be living people, and recognizing the reality of our existence is recognizing our death. Inside, deep inside of this death, in the center of the death, lives immortality, eternity, and truth and being. But we could not reach the being by the life. So we need to go through the life to the death, inside of the death, to find the being.
So on that note, what value then do you put on life? And in your view, is it ever right to take life? Is it ever right to take life? And what value do you put on life?
I think that if the purpose of the life is death, so there is no such big problem to take away life. But we could not kill the other, because the death is something that belong only to us and to God. So if we understand what is the death, that's we are bearing in ourselves. And if someone kills the other, it's only illusion that one person kills the other. That is the person who dies has died, and nobody can alienate the death from us. So nobody can kill us. Nobody. We are absolutely immune, because when we are dying, that is our will to die. Maybe it is the will of us that is against our understanding. It is our hidden will. So, and it is well if in the God terms, in the terms of theology, only God could kill us. And if someone kills us, it is the God who has permitted and ordered that, finally. And in the personalistic vision, it is ourselves that have sanctioned the killing. So I think that idea that somebody could kill the other is Luciferian pride. There is nothing like that.
So there's no murder? Murder doesn't exist then?
No, there is no matter. So we could not kill ourselves because we are already dead, and there is eternity. And what is important in us is eternal being, and all the rest is a kind of contingent. And being contingent, it could exist or could. What could not exist doesn't exist. Only that could not exist exists. It's this kind of Apollonian and Platonic logic that is Christian as well. So not the body and the material life is very narrow. It's only smallest part of our life, and we need to be killed by the enemies of the God is the easiest way to reaffirm our eternity and immortality. So it is not only radicalist, fanatical belief. It is normal religious understanding, because when believers, they say, or we say, that we believe that the soul exists after death, it is not only words. We are believing, we are creating the world based on this value. So the death or killing is not so much important as materialists and immanentists pretend. For if you have only this life, material life, so you will strive for immortality, material, bodily immortality. That is the way of modern quest of posthumanism, of artificial intelligence. That is a kind of hysterical search to avoid death. Interesting. I have seen recently in Shanghai Dr. Fang, a Chinese philosopher. As he knows very good Russia. He has met Putin, and he has asked recently in the Valdai Club, what is the kind of philosophical basis for your decisions? And Putin has responded to Mr. Fang that it is not anymore ideological, but it is based on pure geopolitical calculation. So evoking geopolitics in Russia, it's the same as evoke my works, because I'm founder of Russian version of modern geopolitics from the end of the 80s. So I started to promote geopolitical ideas, Eurasianism, and this mirroring Anglo-Saxon tradition of geopolitics and accepting the active role of Eurasia that is considered by Anglo-Saxons and by Atlanticists as the object, not the subject. So that all Russian geopolitics is consists in transforming the object of the geopolitics in the subject of the geopolitics, and playing the game against global world in order to establish multipolarity. But in order to do that, we could not play anymore in bipolar way. So we are subject, but not a whole thing. A part of this subject. So we need the other subject to play with us on our side.
In my last film, The Pillars of Heaven in Ukraine, a priest told me that he believes Putin is pleasing to God. Do you think he's pleasing to God?
The relations of the man with God is the deep mystery. I think that religiously, Putin is not clear for me, but and for our people as well. We hope we had real hope in him, Now we begin to be, we, not myself, we, as a people, we are beginning to be disappointed in him. But that doesn't mean that our understanding of what this man is was correct, or is correct, or incorrect. So relations with God are quite different. We could not judge absolutely. For example, we see sinner, open sinner, and maybe he is a saint inside. It is mystery of the human soul and the human heart, as well as the, for example, many histories of prostitutes or criminals that were saints finally and secretly. So we shouldn't. And Forgiveness Day teach us to forgive, not to judge. So let God judge him.
Do you forgive Vladimir Putin?
I cannot.
You cannot forgive him.
No, because I'm not perfect. I'm very imperfect. I should forgive. I have spoken with my spiritual father some time ago. I am very disappointed by Putin in all senses. So I was very passionate about him. I supported him during many years. And love and hate and appreciation and as well a kind of hatred, they go together. So, and I have asked kind of advice from my spiritual father. I have confessed that I began to hate him because I had too many hopes and almost everything was deception and disillusion. So, and he has said that I should try to overcome this. So I'm trying. I'm trying not to hate him. Yeah. It's very hard. And now I see his decline. Certainly his decline. Not decline of the power, not political decline. I would say moral, historical decline. And I will try maybe this during these fasting periods.
To forgive him.
To forgive him. He didn't do anything wrong personally, individually against myself. It's nothing personal, nothing personal.
Will you vote for him?
Hmm?
You going to vote for him?
No.
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 Okay. Are there any other candidates you see coming?
No, I don't vote. I don't vote. I think that is a kind of profanation of the real will, because popular will. It is the simulacrum of real decision, real democracy that I consider the real democracy. The fact of participation of the people in its own destiny, but this is spectacle, it's simulacrum. So it is something ridiculous, I would say. So that is not Russian as well. So
democracy.
Yes, it is a kind of imitation of the Western system, and I could not judge how it works in the West. Maybe good, I doubt it.
Not so sure in Britain.
Absolutely. But in our situation, it is pure simulacrum. So that has nothing to do with the declaration of the will of the people. That is the fraud. Not in the counting the votes, it's a fraud in general. It's this kind of hypocrisy and fraud. So I don't like to participate in that. And I see that without, notwithstanding the result, in spite of any result, there is a kind of despair in people in these procedures of democracy and the results of democracy, in the counting of votes, the propaganda. All that is a kind of something indignity in all that, and absolutely not Russian. Maybe it will be more honest to
create dictatorship, pure. That will be, so we could not change nothing, nobody care about our opinion. If we will be put to the edge of our tolerance, we will kill the dictator, and that is honest. So, but it is a kind of spectacle. There is dictatorship, but not openly recognized, this disguised in some kind of absolutely false democracy.
The idea that democracy is pregnant with tyranny is a Greek idea. And following another Greek idea, the great philosopher Socrates, he gave his life for his thoughts, his philosophy. Are you in any way influenced by that? Would you give your life for your thoughts, your philosophy?
Absolutely, for the philosophy. Life, yes. If you could not sacrifice a life for your ideas are absolutely futile, nothing. They are nothing.
The knots of life are tied.
Тот, кто знает о терра фолиата, может забросить все книги. А тот, кто не знает о терра фолиата, тот никогда не научится читать. Это перистая снежная земля, усыпанная оранжевыми листьями. Огненная неподвижность ускользающей ртути щупалец, розово-невидимый, произрастающий на планете Сатурн. На луговых одуванчиках лежит андрогин. В его волосах змеится двойная спираль. Рядом спит книга «Космософия» Роберта Фладда. И в лебеде леденеет леда. Это древняя легенда. Легенда о терра фолиата. I think that the beauty is most enigmatic form of being. There is a kind of secret in the beauty. So you see something that is really beautiful with no explanation at all. So I think that the beauty is something that's not only unexplainable, but something that doesn't inspire the desire to explain. So that is something
Without
so
words.
evident. Yeah, absolutely.
without words,
so evident that your respiration stops. So that is, you are struck by beauty. Beauty is incompatible with the concept of explanation or ownership. So it should be contemplated, venerated, adored at the distance, at some distance. So if you approach to the beauty, something beautiful, to beauty too close, this image disappears. The matter is imagined. So when we're speaking about futurological projects, as for example life on other planets, we're entering in the imagination, the structure of imagination. But I think that it is completely useless to dream about that, because we don't understand the world we are living in. We don't see the things here that happen. We don't examine, we don't study in a proper way our own imagination and its mechanisms, its structures. And in order to concentrate on the existential depth around soul, mind, world we're living in, the earth world. We are trying to escape from that, from unsolved problems, projecting them in the bizarre way on the other planets or in the cosmos. So I think we should return to the earth. But we shouldn't consider earth as something material, some body. Earth is a kind of ontological level of the reality. And this ontological level should be explored phenomenologically. So instead of trying to escape from Earth, to go outside of it, and to project our vision on other planets, or asking whether there is a life on the other planet, we should concentrate on what is alive on our planet. What is alive in itself? What is the planet? What is the Earth? Not the planet in general, because the planet is something moving in the Greek sense. It is not body as idea of movement. So the planet is something that it is the change.
What are your thoughts on the theory of evolution then? Very much looking at the natural world as a guide for our life. What do you think of evolution?
I think it is absolutely false, because it is based on linear time and on material origins of the nature. I think there is no such kind of evolution. There are many kinds of cycles inside of nature. In some periods of this cycle, there is flourishment. In other parts of the cycles are decays. But there is, the ear is the perfect image of what is nature. So if we think that more heat is progress or evolution, it's a little bit stupid. Or for example, if you consider autumn, the fall and the winter to be bad, morally bad, or not at all. So it is not evolution, the spring is not evolution. So I think we could see some process of the growth in the nature and decay, and both are very important, and both are part of the message. The beginning and the end, the birth and the death, permanence as well of something, or transformation and changes, all are the part of some sentence, of some discourse. And we need to correctly understand that. I think that evolution is completely wrong reading, the form of completely wrong reading of the nature. It is a kind of projection of linear progressist mind. Nothing evolves. So I think that everything changes, but nothing evolves, because everything changes around, circulating around its own center. So, and the center is the message, center of the phenomenon, center, not periphery. So I think we shouldn't impose on nature our proper prejudices. We need to decipher nature correctly, and evolution is the wrong way to do so.
When you get ill, do you go to a doctor at all?
No, I don't believe in doctors. I don't believe in pills. I believe in the force of the prayer and in the mystical effect of anointment. If the hand leads you to the hell, cut it. If your eyes lead you to the hell, take them away. So to be blind and to be mutilated, it's better if the salvation of the soul is on the stake. So I suggest to follow that directly. And first of all, consider not the value of the healing or healthcare, but the reason of the illness. If everything, if there is God, everything has a meaning. Everything has some special goal and special lesson to give us. So, including the worst thing that happened, they are teaching us something. And if we get the lesson, it is the best result at all. Not try to readjust, repair. If something is falling down, we need to understand why, not to keep it. Maybe that is something evil. For example, Soviet Empire has collapsed. In order to save it at any price, we need to understand: was it really something that we needed to save? So, and that is the same. Materialistically, we should repair and conserve and ameliorate everything. Not at all. We should be we should concentrate it, first of all, on the meaning of the life we live, or the meaning of the object we are dealing with. So, I don't like to stress more this point. I understand perfectly how terrible that sounds for the majority of modern people, but I think that majority is always wrong.
Кажется, что вот все-таки мы должны что-то в истории сделать, потому что и что-то очень большое. Вот несмотря на то, что это кажется, что вот глаза боятся, а руки делают, что вот все-таки мы на самом деле вот эту русскую структуру и вот русское царство, русскую организацию, наше лучшее, что в нас есть, систему, пусть оно будет не похоже ни на что-то другое, мы должны призваны совершить. Я понятия не имею, как это сделать, потому что на практике все показывает, что это невозможно, что нет ни одного положительного знака в этом направлении, и никакие тенденции сюда не ведут. Все ведут отсюда. Да. Но, тем не менее, чем вот больше, как бы сказать, понимаешь, что это невозможно, тем больше хочется именно это сделать и ничего другое. А вот то, что возможно, делать не хочется совершенно. И вот, может быть, так мы как-то в этой нашей мечте, да, то, что они говорят, это наша слабая сторона, но она же и наша сильная сторона. Потому что вот как-то у нас все немножко не как у людей, или так нам кажется, или мы так вот тоже сами себя убеждаем. Может, так и должно быть, как у нас, у людей, наоборот. А у роботов, вот как у всех остальных. И здесь вот есть такое тоже ощущение, у меня очень большая внутренняя, как бы сказать, оптимизм, как ни странно. Я смотрю, что все идет так плохо, что просто никуда. Да, что государство отчуждается от нас, мы, организация, не способны, ничего не делать. Ну, ты дальше уже все вот то, что мы говорили. Мне кажется, что огромное, совершенно невероятное могущество есть в нас, внутреннее. Оно где-то вот как бы не может быть, найти себе формы, не может о себе сказать правильно. Но оно просто насквозь пронизывает наш народ. И вот все... Всю историю? Всю историю, да. Это такое ощущение, что мы ждали этого царства земли. У нас все время было царство до не земли. А земля была до не царствовала. Земля у нас не царствовала, а рабствовала. А царство было небесное. Ну, таким извне просто поставленным. И вот это как бы сами себя мы как-то все не могли никак найти. Мы все время были в каких-то двух мирах параллельных. Мы все время где-то думали, что мы это, а мы были не этим. То есть мы не знали о себе своей собственной
Вся
истины.
история — это поиск.
Да, поиск. И вот мне
До сих
кажется,
пор не нашлись.
да, не нашли.
Мы должны.
И это, может быть, даже хорошо, потому что если мы скажем, что нашли, вот это будет конец. Потому что если мы скажем, вот так и должно быть, как сейчас, ну мы же явно, вот что мне очень радует, что все понимают, что все ненормально, как вот мы
Всё не
находимся.
так, ребята.
Все не так, все вот совершенно не так. А значит, мы хотим, чтобы было так. И мы говорим, мы не знаем как. Но если мы не знаем, значит, мы знаем, что так точно не должно быть. То есть вот эти отрицательные
Знаем, но
формы,
чувствуем.
да, и чувствуем, и что-то мы все-таки к чему-то мы двигаемся, что-то мы очень ясно понимаем, несмотря вот на... И вот мне это внушает огромный оптимизм. Я думаю, что мы стоим на пороге чего-то очень-очень важного. Вот русский народ, может быть, действительно триггером или причиной будет какая-то катастрофа, или война, или переворот. Ну, на самом по-другому мы просто не умеем.
Do you put nation above humanity itself?
Great. Very, very, very pertinent question. First of all, I think that human, to be human, is the open question. And if we consider, for example, so-called new anthropology, that is multi-naturalism of Viveiros de Castro, a Brazilian anthropologist. He has said that multiculturalism is not enough because it is not really pluralistic, because it considers that we are dealing with the same nature. But if we ask Indians or from Amazon River, they have completely different concept of the nature. We consider them to be underdeveloped and recognizing their culture as possible human illusion. But we know the truth. That is purely racist. But they consider that, I will explain, the Indians, according to Viveiros de Castro, think that the birds are human, that the bears are human, that the fishes are human, and that the ghosts of the dead are human. Human that are still the same human as ourselves, but putting in the different natures. So the problem is not the culture, the problem is the nature. So we are, and this kind of humanism, of the humanity of the bird or fish or the serpent or the snake, if we exclude that with such, in the same step, we are excluding from the human, or we're thinking that they are completely in error, thinking in such way, Indians. So in my vision, a human, to be human, it could not be answer. It is a question. And I'm answering your question. So for me, I could not be human without being Russian. So I'm not human not being Russian. I am nobody not being Russian. Not human, no snake. I have no culture. I have no position in the meaning. I have no space, no time, no subject, no object, no God, no human. I am robot in the best way, or I am nothing. Not ever a robot, because the robot is Western. So I think that human. What is human? We should ask Indian, why you consider the bird or the snake to be human, or the ghost? Why? You should ask as well English, why you think this is human and that is not? We should ask Russian, Chinese, African, Eskimos. But I fear we should ask as well the cat what it thinks, because maybe, for example, the cats
they considered to a kind of orientation the space, and the dogs, the living being. For the cats, they belong to the space, and dogs belong to master, who knows the truth. I think so. In dialogue, what is human, or what is normal, the space or master, the dog or cat, the Indian or English or Russian, we need to consult every being finally. So humanity is more general definition. For example, there is the small tribe Perahan tribe that cannot count. So if we think that for human is normal to count, to have the numbers, we are wrong. It is not human. The part of the majority of the human can count. But if you ask Perahan how many fingers you have, they will respond some. So are they still human? In my opinion, absolutely. And I agree with them if they, for example, call inexisting, in my eyes, the ghost of the dead as well the human, and will invite him to United Nations conference because they have the right to do so. That is their anthropology, finally. So that is their culture. And I think that is real multipolarity. So when we pretend to be human without being Russian, we just are committing gnoseological crime, because we pretend to be universal directly, without having the real heritage, real part in this belonging. So the humanity is a kind of apophatic concept. It is unity that should be created in it is a kind of belief. It is a kind of church, the kind of notion that that we need to establish. So humanity doesn't exist. Humanity can exist. We have no humanity. We have only Western liberal globalist robots, and that is not humanity. We miss the majority of the human in such a definition. So I think that humanity doesn't exist yet. It could exist. It should exist. Human being, but we need to work hard, first of all, to destroy this monopoly of definition of what is human from the aggressive globalist liberal West, and after trying to ask the cat or Indians or Africans or shamans or Buddhists, because Buddhists have their own concept of what is human. If you say Buddhists, you are wrong pretending that the mountain can walk, as some Zen Buddhist master affirm. So we are behaving ourselves as just nationalists and chauvinists and xenophobes and Nazi. So I think Nazi is as well possible as globalism is possible, as liberalism is possible, the Western colonization is possible and actual, but I refuse to recognize it as normative.
Господи Иисусе Христе, Сыне Божий, помилуй нас. 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 Господи Иисусе Христе, Сыне Божий, помилуй нас.
The hero stands and fights.
Much more interesting to explore
Dragons and
fairies and spirits
You
and
believe
that.
these exist then?
Yeah,
do you?
absolutely.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I am sure, not believe, I
And witches,
sure.
of course, obviously.
Witches are absolutely. If they were burned, so they should exist. You should have something to burn in order
Would
to
you
burn
burn
it.
witches these days, Alex? Would you burn witches these days?
When you stop to burn bitches, Witches, sorry. If you stop to burn witches, so they are no more witches. So if they are accepted as a respectable member of community, they are no more. They are Hillary Clinton or respectable Theresa May. Something wrong with Theresa May, how she moves.
Think she's a witch?
I think she is maybe serpent or reptile or something strange in the manner how she dances. She dances in a very strange way. Maybe she is ghost, maybe she is witch, maybe she is reptile. But the normal woman could not dance like that. So that's really strange. I thought maybe she imitated African once, but when she began to dance in different situations, different dances in the same, a little bit alien manner. So maybe she is alien.
So how should we react? How should we have a relationship with witches, wizards, dragons? How do we deal with them then? If we don't accept them,
we could not accept dragon in our zoo. If we would accept
then
them, there will be no more
well,
dragon.
then, Alex, Russia and the UK and Europe, America shouldn't be fighting. We should be fighting dragons. We're fighting the wrong enemy.
Yes, but I think dragons
Should be fighting dragons.
Dragons are on side. I think that they are part of tradition. So
Right.
we should fight not each other, neither each other nor dragon. We should fight modernity. Modernity is just interpretation. It is not new reality. It is a wrong interpretation of the same reality. So we didn't kill dragon. We have lost communication with them, so they are still here. We should rediscover them and save them by that way. So I think nothing is lost. To forget something, it is not to kill something that lives somewhere, and somewhere forgotten, somewhere hidden. Red and white dragon in English history. I think precisely they are much more important than Theresa May or Brexit. So rediscovering white and red dragons still fighting together.
And Little Bird has told me that you also have taken an interest in fashion and perfumes. Are you now a spokesman for a certain perfume, the philosopher's perfume, I understand? Is this true?
Yes, well, my friends from Italy, they are working in the field of perfumes. They have suggested, being inspired by my books and ideas on radical subject and fourth political theory and Eurasianism, they suggested to create that, and they have created some perfumes. And I'm some way participate, discussing that or trying to give my opinion about how it corresponds or not. Perfume, that is as well a language. Artistic means they fit to possibility to express some metaphysical ideas. Why not?
The philosophical perfume. It's the sexiest perfume, you'd say, would you?
That depends. We need to try that. So we need to try.
Are you wearing these perfumes now, Alex? Are you finding it's helping you to philosophize, to think?
I think that the perfumes, as all metaphysical things, philosophical perfumes should not be pragmatic. So it should not help to nothing. It should have the goal in itself.
Should it have a smell, or is it not necessary?
Not necessary.
Not necessary.
It is optional. So the real philosophical perfume should be different because it should be goal in itself, as the philosophy and the logos. So you feel it, and that's all. Victory of in Europe, the victory of Salvini and Di Maio, the first in the history of modernity creation of purely populist government, left populist and right populist, uniting against the center. I think that is precisely is the symbol of the future of Europe. The Europe will be split between populist and globalist elites. So that is the scenario for Europe in the time to come, but it is only in the first stage. It is not turning point. So it is turning point maybe in Italian history, very important, but it is not yet turning point. Maybe it will provoke civil war in Europe because
That's what Russia wants, isn't it? Chaos
yes,
in Europe.
Yes,
You
yes.
want chaos in Europe.
That could be solution. At
That's
least
a solution.
maybe for time being, because we have
Solution
too
for
many.
whom? Not for Europe.
Who care about Europe here finally? Because Europe,
Europeans
it's
do.
Europe. Okay, quite. Let or avoid that, or suppress, or wean. So there are two Europe: the populist Europe, left and right. When left and right populist Europe is divided, so the liberal globalist Europe wins. When they overcome this dividing line, there is the real threat, I think. So that is serious. When left and right populists can overcome that, they become one of the subjects. So Europeans care, but Europeans should first define their camp. If they don't want, decision will be taken instead of them. So please choose your camp, Europeans, or you are with your globalist, pro-American, Atlantist, liberal elites in favor of gay marriage and humanism plus artificial intelligence and Brussels bureaucracy. It's one camp. Please fight for them or be used by them. Or you are on the side of European people, leftist, rightist, but people as such that doesn't want any more migration, doesn't want liberal domination, and that does want other Europe, united, strong, culturally clean, culturally classical, basing with Christian roots. That is the other Europe. So Europe is split already. So civil war is already started. Maybe you didn't remark that. And if you care about the fate of Europe, please choose your camp first. For Russia, that will be a kind of relief for the time being, because if that will start in a more radical way, there will be the split in the Euro-Atlantist pole. It will become weaker, and we become stronger. Not
So
bigger.
you're planning for civil war in Europe, is that what you're saying?
No, it will happen instead of us. If we could ignite it, maybe we would. Maybe not. I don't know. But it will come instead of us, in spite of us, by its own logic. It is not our problem. We could try to influence that on the side of helping populists. I recognize that they are our strategical and historical allies. But we could not. We have no power to change, to influence the situation. It is inner European problem, and we will play on the side of populists. It's clear, because their victory is not the chaos in Europe. It is our victory. So they are mostly pro-Russian or neutral. So they are anti-liberal, anti-American in the absolute majority. So they are our natural historical allies. But we could not manipulate them. They are absolutely. It is Europeans to decide the camp or to decide our destiny. But it could give us some time. For example, everybody will be occupied by Europe, what is going on there. In that moment, we could use to expand our influence in the post-Soviet space to restore a kind of great Russia in the form of Tsarist empire, or solve our inner problem, for example, to finish the fifth column or something like that, and to end with compromises that are accumulating more and more from the Yeltsin's time in our society. It will be a historical chance. If it will be delay this conflict in Europe, or if it will be solved in Pacific, peaceful way that I prefer personally. I prefer the democratic victory of the populist forces. Democratic, peaceful, completely legal, legitimate. So, but it is up to you. All my life is war, but not in the physical way. So, but I think that there could come the moment when you will be obliged to fight in the real war. I was present in some difficult situation, for example, on the front of the Southern Ossetia with Georgia, but I didn't participate in war. But I cannot exclude psychologically, or in my opinion, I am fighting. I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior maybe, but not soldier. So there is a kind of difference. Russians don't let the war enter in their soul. I have let the war enter in my soul, so that is different. So now if I will be mobilized with great pleasure, I would participate as well in the patriotic war for the values of Russia. But I think I could make much more positive thing in other fields, fighting the other war, ideological war, metaphysical war, the war of minds. But I appreciate the soldiers as well, warriors, and I think that in the war, the most of men show and reveal their nature. But in any case, it is a kind of very human activity, war, when the value of the man is clear and naked. So there is a naked soul that appears in the war. But the Russian soul is peaceful. So the war is the way to open the immense peacefulness of Russian soul. But the peace is conceived in Russian way. So it's Russian peace. We are struggling for Russian peace.
Советские войска имели превосходство над противником. Их наступление принимало необратимый характер. Августа 1943 года прозвучал заключительный аккорд Курской битвы. Советские войска вступили в Харьков. Это была крупная военная и политически важная победа на украинской земле.
This is one of the absurdities of the war in the East. Actually, the people you're supposedly defending, they've been the main victims. Of the 10,300 people who've died, the majority of them have been in the Donbass region, who are supposedly part of the Russian world.
Absolutely.
So the war is nonsensical in that sense.
Responsibility for the death of Donbass is partly on Moscow, because we should stop the war, gaining it in a full spectrum domination of the Novorossiya. After that, maybe Kiev. After that, maybe go further or stop something.
That's war with NATO. That's nuclear war. I mean,
No,
and what about
no,
the Budapest?
we were blackmailed by nuclear war in Southern Ossetia, in Abkhazia, in Crimea, in Donbass. No, nobody will kill all humanity for these Ukrainians, Western Ukrainians. Nobody. So the price is not enough.
Well, you look at it from the Western perspective. You carry out that plan of action. You take Kiev, bomb Kiev. So you're sitting in Washington or in London or NATO headquarters. What on earth do you think they're going to do? A, they see that...
Sanctions.
No. The sanctions have been tried. They've clearly failed. They are escalated to a huge extent.
Not now.
Yeah.
But if we would take Kiev 4 years ago, nobody will understand that sanctions will not work. Oh, put them.
But now, I'm saying now, if you did it now, having tried the sanctions, even increased them, they've worked. But
Yes.
also thinking about that,
Now,
if they've taken a whole sovereign country.
Sorry. Now
what's next?
I don't say. Maybe I didn't express myself well. We should do that in the past. 4 years ago. 4 years ago, in the 2014, we should occupy, invade eastern Ukraine and maybe the part of Kiev. And 4 years ago, with Yanukovych in our part, and being invited there not as invaders, but as defenders of the legitimate president of Ukraine. That is
Like
an
in
example.
Syria, Assad.
Like at the same juridical level as many states in history did. For example, as Americans do always. For example, supporting some deposed president as legitimate instead of some putschists who made coup d'etat. For example, in Africa, that's everyday event. So nothing special. Yanukovych invites us to save Ukraine from the putschists, and we are going in tanks. So Yanukovych is here in Donbass. They say he wouldn't agree, but there are so many means to make him.
Sorry, was that option tried then? Did someone try and get Yanukovych to invite the Russians in? Is that
No.
what you're saying?
No.
It wasn't tried.
No, because Putin has lost the chance.
No, but
Now,
in 2014, was that tried?
I could not say the details. I know some details, some other I didn't, but we know the results. That didn't happen. In my opinion, it was very easy, and it was granted in all means, in all the situation. That was the lie of the pro-Western group around Putin. They say they will accept Crimea as the part of Russia if we stop here. If we recognize Poroshenko, they will give us Crimea, nothing, no threat of nuclear war, no sanctions. Sanctions will little for some months after that, and we have support of Kissinger for that. We have the word of some other persons around. That was not Trump, that was Obama yet. So that was in administration. We have guarantees for that. And Putin has believed to these liars and agents of the West. So he stopped the operation, all the operation. And now we have the result. How to behave now? So tomorrow they will have Lavra or monasteries or churches. What Putin would do? Now he could not invade eastern Ukraine because Putin already recognized the legitimacy of Poroshenko. He could blame him and so on, but Yanukovych is out the game. Absence of the real support for Donbass during 4 years has very negatively affected Russian image in the eastern Ukraine. No more will believe us. 4 years ago, they would believe us, and they wanted. And my friends were in the Kharkiv, in Odessa, putting Russian flags on administration buildings. So we almost have that. And now we will have no, that will be occupation, there will be violence, dictatorship, that will be in as well the propaganda. Ukrainian and anti-Russian pro-Western propaganda did its job during 4 years. 4 years. Brainwashing Ukrainians. So now is the worst moment to start the war.
The final battle is joined.
But why did the US personally go after you on the sanctions list because of Ukraine?
So I am very proud of it, to say the truth. Not only myself, but my friends that had nothing to do with material support of the fight, of the violence, nothing at all. So we are put under sanctions because in the eyes of Americans, we are responsible for that. And I could say I'm responsible for my country, for the strategy, because I am sanctioned because I am subject with independent and sovereign thought and free will. And because they identify myself behind Putin. I don't know the quality of their intelligence, but without crime in the legal, juridic sense, I think that I'm fully responsible for supporting the return of our periphery or defense of this periphery in front of the aggressive other periphery. And because they have identified in my person a kind of symbolic bearer of Russian logos. That and geopolitical thought, they have discovered that I have written about that many years ago. So I had very good relations. The many peoples that appeared at the head of the Eastern Ukraine were my friends, but I never participate in the fighting there. I was never in Crimea. My role was only words, and I'm sanctioned for my ideas. I consider that this recognition of the power of the ideas, I always believe in that. With my friend Fukuyama, we agree on at least one point, that ideas do matter.
Do you have any regrets for any of your actions on the Ukraine crisis?
That was the fight of ideas. And there you need to be bold to say the truth in the different situations when there is not yet clear who will win. So I fought against pro-Western, liberal, globalist elite, and partly I failed. So that is defeat, because I insisted on other issue, and I was betrayed and defeated by pro-Western elite that managed to restrain and limit Putin's reaction. So that is the difference. A good example. What is the strategy? Strategy was take Eastern Ukraine, Novorossiya back, and when Putin mentioned Russian world, Ruski Mir, that was the moment when everything was possible. And just in the moment after pronouncing this formula, there began a huge reaction in the political elite against Putin's using this concept. Immediately Lavrov denounced everything, because that was beginning of real Russian revolution. So the awakening of Russian subject. We were very close to that in that moment, because we almost have reached the point of reversible awakening of Russian subject, and the transformation and shift from reaction to the strategy. But that didn't happen, and that could happen. So maybe at conclusion, maybe I wouldn't change anything.
So obviously we have to talk about the Anglo-Russian relationship at the moment, what's happening. I mean, so the latest in this Skripal incident is that the British authorities they believe they've identified 2, possibly 3 suspects. They believe they are members of the GRU, and so they then think that this is evidence of Russian political state involvement. What are your comments on the latest developments?
To say the truth, I have lost the logic of the story. In the first time, I thought that it was clearly prepared special operation by the West in order to make worse relations between Great Britain and Russia in the Brexit period, in order to destroy growing influence as well of Russia in the West, and seemed to be everything like that, because I couldn't imagine Putin giving such order to annihilate Skripal before the coup. So, it is very, very, very strange. But after revelation of 2
Possibly
strange, but these 2 that is already known, 2 strange persons, and their declarations on Russian TV and on interview, that I didn't get a word.
It was bizarre, wasn't it?
It was really bizarre, because they didn't prove anything. So there was something wrong with them that was clear. So the fact they were hiding something. So that was so suspicious and unclear that for the first time I had idea maybe that something wrong with involvement of Russian part, because explanation was incredibly stupid on our part. I could not say they are guilty or not, but the story of the UK obtains more credibility, including in my eyes, and Russian story loses credibility, including in my eyes. I'm a priori in favor of Russia, so I couldn't criticize, and nothing could be biased by the Western propaganda. I am considered to be one of the Russian propagandists, but in that case, I could not support or continue Russian propaganda as well, because rational arguments lack in my case. So I'm sorry, but I have no idea about
No
it.
comment, okay.
Yes, I could recognize my incapacity to grasp or to put together the facts. So that is always, including dealing with some kind of fake news. I understand what the fake news story of the West, that is more or less coherent. But I could not understand our fake story. Why we don't respond with some coherent sequence, including of lies. Yeah, I'm not speaking about truth in such situation, but why our story is so weak.
Where do we go from here? We now have the revealment with the Dutch of 300 GRU agents and them hacking into the OPCW. We have American investigations into GRU members for the hacking in the American elections, and we have also the Skripal case. So the UK, the US, and the Dutch are having a naming and shaming in their eyes for deterrence purposes for Russian involvement in terms of the shadow wars we're now in the Cold War.
So there are different points. So for example, there is a kind of network warfare. And Americans, they recognize that they led now for many years this network operation, wars operation against us.
What is network warfare?
That was idea to gain the control in informational sphere over the potential enemy and potential foe using all kind of cyber weapon. So that is network warfare that is still recognized officially by United States Army from the beginning of the 90s. So now it is established part of strategical studies and the field already 30 years ago implemented in the official strategy of United States, so domination in informational sphere, including in propaganda, in the cyber, in this network, and so that is network warfare. So, personally myself, I've tried to attract attention to this field, not of researchers, but as well of implemented weapon directed against us from the beginning of 2000 in the military circle and some group of special services circles, and I have met with full indifference for that. But little by little, and my idea was that we need to create a counter-attack, not only defense against this network warfare based on using the same means, but as well counter-attack those who officially lead this network war against us. So penetrating the social networks, creating the tendency in favor of our national interests, disbalancing the social situation in the weak social ambiences, precisely supporting dissidents, for example, in the countries we consider to be hostile to us, precisely as, for example, American help to Navalny or others. So if finally, without informing me, they have accepted such strategy, I am happy. So if there are agents of GRU in the United States, in Dutch, in UK, in the West, doing exactly the same thing as the West does against us, I'm happy. So there is, I don't believe it because it is so good that I hardly believe that because of the kind of laziness and kind of ignorance in the high-end informational technology of Russian silovikis and Russian hardware hardliner or army, secret services. But if it is the fact, so I am glad. So if we are trying to hack American system in order to destabilize it, to make it weaker, because they attack us. Stop attack us, we will stop attack you. So that is a realistic attitude. So if you beat me, I will hit back. If you stop to beat me, we try to find new. But if you, we should have some assurance that you will not hit us next time. So maybe we are better hit once more in order to finish it, or to, so it is the fight.
Today, how far away do we stand from a similar war of this gigantic scale, in your view?
Third World War is always possible after the end of the Second. In the 20th century, everybody talked about the necessity of the peace, and the talk peace were more developed than ever. And the most destructive, most terrible wars were precisely in the century of the glorification of the global peace. So the speech of the peace is not enough to prevent the war. And I think that contradictions between civilizations, and precisely between unipolar world and multipolar world, between Western hegemony and the will of the people to defend their identity is growing. This confrontation is growing. So we are approaching the war. There is always the way to prevent it, to avoid it. But in order to avoid it, we need to recognize the probability or possibility of it in order to be more responsible. And I think that this day is as well a kind of demonstration of the will of Russian people to stay strong with our principles, with our values, with our historical memory, that we are united, we are consolidated, we have long memory of our victories, of our histories, and that is important, the role of the deads here, because the people lives not only in now, it lives in the past and it lives in the future. And that the role of the little children coming with the parents to commemoration of the Victory Day is a kind of continuation of generations. So the people consist from living deaths and as well generations to come. They are also present in now and this moment. And I think that is very important. This readiness, we are ready to war because we won the most terrible war in our history. That was horrible. We have paid millions, many millions of the lives, Russian lives for that. And we don't want to repeat that. But at the same time, neither Trump, nor Boris Johnson, nor the West, with all the allies, never could impose on us unipolar will. We are historical subject. We are living being. Russian people is living being that will live forever, fighting against aggressors and affirming our own identity, sovereignty, and free will. So I think that is a kind of the event celebrating Russian subjects. So the very important circumstance in the history. So Russia is the subject of history, and we always was the subject, not object, not tool, and we will be forever.
If you were in a position of power and you were in charge of the nuclear button, would you press it if you had to?
I'm thinking about that, and I would be always ready to press. And I think that
Would you press it though? Ready is different. Would you actually press it though? If the moment came,
yes,
you would press it.
yes, and I would be always ready. Putin recently said the same. So if we be obliged, if we will be obliged to respond or not respond against the direct nuclear threat, we will prefer destroy mankind. And that is one step back. One step back. We are defending ourselves at any price. So if we are,
But there's nothing to defend if you destroy mankind. I mean, everything's gone.
but they will never receive their goal. They never will submit us. So that the price, I agree, is highest. But we have a kind of justification for that. Our defensive role in that. So I would never aggress the other with nuclear weapon. The push button is the last solution, but it should be taken, and it will be taken in the front of the extreme situation. Because
What is the extreme situation?
when the West, globalism, and unipolarity will represent the danger of destruction and defeat of our position. So, in that sense, our defense of multipolarity is either or the West agrees with multipolarity, not with our domination, with multipolarity. Let us alone and the other alone. That's our demand. If we will be obliged to accept unipolarity or die or destroy everything, we will destroy everything. Because without our own truth, we have no reason to exist.
Ah, catastrophe at last.
в Евангелии это все противоположно обычному человеческому опыту. Человек в силу извращенной и искаженной грехом своей природе все делает наоборот. Начиная с младенцем и кончая старцами. От начала до конца все наоборот. И при том обуреваемый гордостью считает не только, что он все делает правильно, а еще дерзает других учить и о каждом пункте своей программы спорить.
To be called human is risky, so it is to be subject. And subject is virtue and sin. In theology, the virtue of subject is to be united with the will of God and be transparent. And the sin of subject to be intransparent, to behave self-reliance, that is that is reliance and support on the lower ego, and self-reliance in the sense of virtue, it is reliance of the higher ego. I think that I have overdeveloped self in both sense, in negative. So it is sin and virtue. So I think that is precisely where the threat is. So we have no other threat except ourselves. The most dangerous threat are us, ourselves. So that as well is my case. So I have obviously overdeveloped subject feeling, so I consider it to be a kind of bearer of radical subject. And I think that is precisely the human problem. That God has created human free. So he is not obliged to be good
or he is not obliged. We are not obliged to be bad. We are subject. We are absolutely free. We are as free as God is, but we lack the power. But we share with Him the freedom. If we use that in proper way, it is the way of theosis, of become God in Christian perspective. If we misuse it, so it is the way to become devil worshipper or Luciferian subject. So that is the problem. This is the problem, and that is the root of main sin and main virtue, main vice and main virtue in my case. All rest I consider to be secondary. So that is the sin that I confessed always first. So I am proud. And it could be in good way, in a bad way. If I confess that, and if I confess that as sin, I mean I am proud to be myself. So it is egoism, or maybe egocentric position, or solipsistic position. When it is a kind of restoration of the human dignity and almighty form of human logos in us, and when it's awakening of that during the philosophical, metaphysical contemplation, that is not at all egoistic. It is a kind of universally, if you want. It is not the sin. It's like rather virtue, but they are always intermingled. They are always together, and that is the problem. If it would be so easy to distinguish the black angel from white angel, I think moral should be childish game. So the real problem, moral problem, and virtue and sin, vice, it is moral problem, precisely consists that they are very, very similar. And you could easily take one for other. And that is the threat. That is why we are the threat, because the angel and devil are living in us together. And to separate them, it is the art. It is the art. And both of them are mighty, powerful, great, and attractive.
The Pope said, every day we should wake up with a smile and a sense of humour. And then there's a very beautiful phrase of Mother Teresa. She said, when your heart is full of hate, there's no room for love. And we also have in the Catholic Church what's called the act of charity, where we say, oh my God, because you are so good, I love you with all my heart and all my soul, and for your sake, I love my neighbour as myself. So this aspect of joy, smiling, love, charity and forgiveness towards the other, do you not find that lacking in your philosophical, theological approach?
Yes, I agree. Maybe that is not my strong point. But I agree with love to the God and love to the neighbor, love to the neighbors, because
for the sake of God.
For the sake of God, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. That is the highest value. But I don't think that there is no place for that in my philosophy. I simply accentuate other things, and I
at
live
the expense of the greater.
No,
which you've just
for
admitted,
example, I think the Teresa de Avila and all Orthodox fathers, they glorified so well love and
love of your neighbor
and charity, love to God. So I am at war in front of them. So I'm humble. I could not feel so beautiful things. So I think, and as I say, at the same time, almost all is said about that in the beautiful words that I could not say better or in the same level. But I think the same authors, they have said too little about the subject, about the end of time, about the problem of existential, authentic or inauthentic form of life. And I try to fill the gap. So I'm not in competition with them. I recognize they are much higher, their absolute superiority. And who is speaking of love sincerely, I admire them. But I cannot to do that the same way. I admire. And
maybe that's a thing for you to aim for. Maybe that could be, I mean, you've been working, as you said, on this, your approaches to philosophy, faith, politics, geopolitics, in a certain way for 40 years. In your final years of life, perhaps it would be an interesting approach to go towards the highest elements of life. Love of your neighbor.
Quite possible. I could not explain, but I didn't fulfill my mission yet in the field I'm working on. So I'm approaching the end of 24 volumes work that I consider my opus magnum, that is called Nomachia. And reaching this point, the end of this work, I'm asking myself, what next? As well, there are some geopolitical tasks to accomplish, to finish, some ideas, because I think that my last, maybe...
Your last act, these are secondary, tertiary, if you just admitted. Go for the highest goal, perhaps.
So I agree. So I'm asking, what next? What next after achieving some point in my life? Because my life is a kind of plan that was created in the youth and fulfilled up to the smallest details. It is interesting that first of all, I was convinced that everybody of us, we need to finish with Soviet Union, with communism, and go further, and to liberate and free Russian logos, Russian spirit outside of communist structure, outside of liberalism that followed, and that was in the beginning of the 80s. That was my aim, that was my goal, that was my task. Not only personal, individual task. I should be part of the process. So I tried always to find allies, to find a force to promote this. Finally, what if we consider, I've written the most important text then in the beginning of the 80s, not developed, but the schemas, by my sketches of the future works, future activity, and there was the end of the communism. There was the end of liberalism with Putin. Now is the final stages that's ahead. But I agree, fulfilling this agenda, I'm approaching to some, maybe the last stage in life when I should change a little bit the main field of concern. I agree. I could not say if it will be possible. I agree that I didn't dedicate too much attention to this aspect, to charity, to love, to concern or care about neighbors or highest forms of being. I think love is the highest form of being.
I mean, as your spiritual father said to me, very interesting, he said, Christ will ask you not how much you suffered, not how much you cared about geopolitics, but how much you loved. And are you worried about your immortal soul because you haven't devoted more attention to this highest of goals?
I agree, this criticism, and I think it's quite possible. But maybe my mission, personal mission, was more humble. So somebody will enjoy full salvation and mercy, and I don't think that my destiny is after life is clear. I very much doubt about that. I lived a dangerous life, and I thought the dangerous thoughts, and I am in full danger. I am a danger myself. So I don't think that, for example, I could count on from granted positive answer, maybe of luck or lack of love, maybe of some other reason, maybe because I didn't fulfill quite right the mission I should, or maybe I have made mistake. Who knows? So it is difficult to say. I'm trying to do my best. I try to fulfill mission. That how I understand that, and exterior events seem to confirm some logic in my plans from my early youth. And I think that's quite a miracle already. But I'm still on the path. And maybe it will be the next stage of my life, because I am approaching to the end of everybody of us. But I'm always remembering that. So I'm approaching from early youth. So I'm dying during 40 years. So dying consciously, dying every moment. So for me, it is very serious things, the death. I'm living with death, in front of it, vis-a-vis, face to face. And for that reason, any time is for me the last time, is end time. And I could not exclude that I will approach this, and but who knows? Let's pray that it will be so.